Today, everyone seems to know Subway restaurants. What most don't know, though, is that it was started back in 1965 by a 17-year-old with a $1,000 loan.
I was like a regular kid, worked in the hardware store, part-time job, minimum wage, and really didn't know how I was going to pay my way through college.
My wife and I and the kids were having a picnic in the backyard, and we had invited our friends Sal and Carmela Deluca and young Fred Deluca too. Fred came to me and said, "Hey Pete, what can I do so I can get some money so I can go to college?"
And he said, "You should open a submarine sandwich shop."
As Fred says, not having had any better offer that day, he said, "Okay, let's open a submarine sandwich store."
Fred Deluca took the casual conversation pretty seriously, and in no time at all, Pete's idea started to become a reality.
I found a little store, what I would now classify as about the crappiest location in the world, but I didn't know.
At the time, Fred was dating a girl from high school by the name of Elizabeth Adamat. Although she planned on becoming a nurse and he a doctor, they both started working in the food service industry, with Elizabeth doubling at her parents' deli and as Fred's right hand.
What I recall is Fred getting an old refrigerator. I believe it was from a junkyard at work, though. And it was a home-style model, and they got some wood and built a counter. And I think the big purchase was probably a meat slicer.
We opened the door for the first store, which was called Pete's Super Submarine Sandwiches.
So we show up bright and early, and we cut some materials. Not too much, because I really didn't think much about how much you actually needed. And about 9:35 in the morning, a little girl from the neighborhood rides her bicycle up. Comes in, orders a sandwich. It's our first sale. 10 minutes later, I had to run down to the university and take an English exam. Come back, it's about noontime then, and my God, there's a line out the door.
On that first day, we sold all 312 breads that we had, and we sat down on the sidewalk and said, "Hey, we're rich," but we weren't.
We were just basically staying afloat, watching our pennies very carefully, really learning through the school of hard knocks.
By February of 1966, friends and family remained supportive, but were begging Fred and Pete to leave the business.
I don't think that Fred could have done it without his family. His mom worked in a department store in the evening, but during the day she worked in the Subway store. His dad worked in a factory, and at night he would come and go around in the Subway store. So everyone worked at the store.
My sister was very young at the time. She was 7 years old, but of course, somebody had to watch her. So, like in many family businesses, you bring the youngster along, and we'd give her little jobs to do.
They would give me a big number 10 can of olives, a little paring knife, and I would sit there and cut the olives. It was a long, tedious job, but I felt that I was helping out, and it kept me busy and quiet.
We had 4 vendors. Every Friday, my mom and I would drive around and we'd visit all 4 vendors. And this routine, which was really unsophisticated, probably took us maybe an hour and a half on Friday, but it was really great. And I think the reason why it was great is that the vendors kind of liked us. They always saw us. We always brought them money. We were always honest about how the business was, good or bad. And as a result, they extended credit to us.
The vendors of Bridgeport, Connecticut helped to keep the early business afloat while their first employee, Dick PILCHEN, set out to start marketing the restaurants.
Dick PILCHEN started with us only because we needed a sign. There was a signboard above the store, and I said, "Dad, what do you think I should do? I have to get a sign painted." And he said, "Well, you know, there's a guy at work, Dick PILCHEN. Why don't we get him?"
They said, "Oh, Dick, we're going to need your help because you know everything about advertising." Of course, I wasn't going to deny that, so I said, "Oh, yeah."
Soon, Dick quit his day job and devoted himself to marketing submarine sandwiches. Some of his ideas, like inviting Don FERTMAN into the company, were inspired.
I was in a rock and roll band called Jeffrey Crayon Gentlemen, later to become the Crayons because we weren't gentlemen anymore. And at that point, what we did was got involved with Dick PILCHEN, who hired us to do Subway jingles.
We were always thinking we want to get bigger. And I said to Fred, "Well, we need a new name." And he agreed with me. So we kind of collaborated and we came up with the name Subway. So I said, "Well, that's good because I can make the sub one color and make the way another color. And then I said, oh, wait a minute, we could call it Subway, and then, it goes uptown and it goes downtown.
With a new logo and growing aspirations, they fearlessly launched store number 5.
Store number 5 was significantly better than the first 4. It started out with a volume that was almost 3 times the volume of any of the other stores. It was clearly a moneymaker from day one. That gave us a lot of stability.
In 1973, after 8 years and 16 stores, Subway still failed to yield a profit.
I was hoping they would give up. I thought he was going to just have a different kind of career. I thought these stores were going to be just a way to pay his way through college. And a few years after we were married, I said, gee, he's never really going to get a real job.
Although progress was slow, their goal of opening 32 stores in 10 years was taking shape. Once again, Fred had a plan to reach his goal: start franchising.
We decided to franchise, mainly because of 2 things. We weren't growing fast enough, and we found that we opened stores further away. They didn't perform as well. It was tough for us to manage it. We didn't have any franchising experience. Nobody inside knew what to do. I never thought of hiring a consultant, didn't get any outside expertise, and just began inventing the franchise as best we could.
After studying the quick service restaurant business and Subway's previous growth, Fred did some calculations to set goals for Subway's future.
Fred announced a goal of 5,000 stores by 1994, when it was 1981 and we had less than 200 stores and nobody had 5,000 stores.
Everybody in the company thought it was crazy.
I thought, this guy's crazy.
I said, oh God, here we go.
We thought he was crazy.
I thought it was rational.
He put it on all of our business cards, on our letterheads, in our advertising, on our napkins, on the wrap. Everywhere you saw Subway, you saw 5,000 stores by 1994. When we reached 5,000 stores by 1990 and 10,000 stores by 1994, I knew we were capable of anything.
By 2011, Subway restaurants grew to be the largest international franchise in the world, with more than 35,000 restaurants in almost 100 countries.
I never was a great one for setting goals. Fortunately, Fred is. Fred normally comes up with a new goal. I guess the new goal, I don't know what the latest is going to be, but it's some huge number.
I saw a chart that Fred made at the last convention, and it showed 2030, 100,000 stores. I'm looking forward to that.